guys, welcome back to episode 2 of Casting Commons, and today we are here to discuss the Pauper challenges from just the weekend gone. And I am here with the Tash Tyrant himself, Reese.
Hello.
So Paul, what have you been doing this week?
So pretty much what we touched on last week, really. Still looking at Burn. Been playing through a few challenges with Cut and Kuldorfer. I'm going more like a Burn focused, like Pinger style list, I guess. With Thermo and the Kessig Cagebreaker guy. Which, yeah, it just seems really strong. Like, the level of card advantage Burn has now is not, like, unparalleled, basically, by any other deck. And I learned about the Chain Lightning bug on Modo, which was a fun one. And end up costing us a trophy, which is always good. So hopefully they'll get back to me and reimburse me at some point.
Yeah, I did know. I haven't like come across the bug myself, but I did notice that it was bugged. I mentioned someone mentioning it, but yeah, it is a strange bug to just all of a sudden occur. But yeah,
for anyone who doesn't know, basically, if you get Chain Lightning or something of yours gets Chain Lightning and you pay to redirect it or to copy it and choose new targets, you don't get to choose new targets. It just does it again. So my opponent tapped out, and the final spell was a Chain Lightning to me. I was on 6 and put me to 3. So I copied it to put it back to them to untap and kill them, but instead it just dealt 6 to me and I died. Which was a fun one. What have you been doing?
I've actually had quite a busy week, to be fair, in terms of Magic. I was quite surprised. I utilised the May Bank holiday that you get in the UK. I don't know if you get it anywhere else. I have no idea. And I recorded a couple of videos. I've been messing with a Rug or Teamer Gates deck, which I've been talking to yourself about. I'm fairly happy with it. I was happy with how it played out. To be fair, I was surprised how powerful it felt in some weird scenarios. Just it has a lot of all-powered, like zero-powered guys, but they attack really well. Like a Boreal Grazer having reach was secretly just house. Hard Evidence producing a crab that can just attack is great. Surprisingly, it blocks really well, and then eventually, I have 9 gates in play, I'll attack you with a crab. And then to finish off the game, Jewel Thief was a really good top-end kind of card. So I definitely, it's not perfect by any stretch of means, but it was definitely fun. Mine wasn't a trophy, but for a 4-1, I made an amazing click against Affinity. I think it was a Jewel Thief I was targeting. I had triple Basilisk Gate, and I decided the second Basilisk Gate was targeting their Mirror Enforcer for some reason. So I just made their Mirror Enforcer absolutely huge. I was like, alright then, Cascade Attack. It's alright then. So yeah, it was definitely a weird one, but... And I've got a couple of decks I'm trialing. Hopefully see something in the future coming down on the YouTube channel. I've got an idea of like trying Mogwarts. Brewing the Shell. Like the Shell seems to be, it's quite concise now with like the draw engine of Deadly Dispute and Wellspring. But gaining, like, I'm thinking Reckless Impulse, Rends Resolve and Experimental Synthesizer work so well for Burn that I can't see a reason why it can't work for Mogwarts.
Yeah.
Because the big downside I find with Mogwarts and having draw engine, sometimes you've just got to go for the combo, and being stuck with like Deadly Disputes in hand are really awkward because you can't combo off because you make an infinite red doesn't help you cast a Deadly Dispute, where making infinite red helps against obviously Rends Resolve, Reckless Impulse, and Experimental Synthesizer.
Yeah,
and
you can just chain them all.
Just chain them all and keep going. So I feel like there is an idea that it might be useful, but then again, obviously being able to cast it only on one turn over the next couple of turns is a pretty awkward. So I'll mess around with that and hopefully get a video recorded with that. But
nice.
And then,
when's the Gates video going up?
The Gates video should be next week. So I have Gardens coming out this week because I'd absolutely love that deck, and it falls in line with the other project that's finishing, and that project includes something to do with Gates, so Gardens, sorry. So I feel like that works out perfectly well. And then next week should obviously be the Rug Gates, which again was so much fun to play. I just love killing people with a Boreal Grazer. I am all for that.
I actually played against the Rug deck in that one of the leagues I was playing with Burn, but it was like a Rug Threshold
Oh yeah.
with like Terra, Nimble Mongoose, and Delver. It was like old school Rug Delver, but brought to port. It wasn't very good, but it looked fun.
Sometimes fun is all you need.
Yeah.
So let's start with the crux of obviously what I think a lot of people will be here for, and it's discussing Saturday and Sunday's challenges. We'll just go down with Saturday. Saturday was, I'd say, a lot more stock as kind of as we expected it all to go. To be fair,
very, very stock, I would say.
All the way through the 32, I personally just felt like it was as you expected. I really did struggle to find my kind of interesting deck because I'm very much off the wall and very much on card choices in not necessarily high meta decks, and there wasn't any. Everything was just mono blue, burn, affinity, farms, everything all right the way through. It was just as you expect. But yeah, so for the results for people that don't know, Burn won, which was like a Rens Resolve, Reckless Impulse, traditional kind of Burn deck, I would say.
Yeah, no
Kuldotha. And then it was 2 Fair. They were fairly stock, but I think they were both
copy paste. So
yeah. Then it was Bogles, Blue Black Fair, which I was quite interested in. To be fair, that was quite a surprising one because a lot of the fairy decks at the moment are either mono blue or at a stretch blue red. But definitely quite happy to see the Blue Black one, which also makes sense with the White did so well with the percentages that we've seen with a high tick of familiars. Like the Blue Black phase, just infinitely better.
Yeah.
So I could see that. And then we had 6th, another Bogles player. And again, they were pretty stock lists. They were fairly similar, I think. There was like the odd lifelink effect or something different and all that sort of stuff, but a couple more.
Yeah, there's not much space in Bogles really. But another double top 8 from Bogles. I think was it Saturday last week there was a double Bogles.
Yeah.
And there's not many people playing them when you look at I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 players. So there's not a lot of representation, but they're doing well.
Yeah,
like, really well.
Yeah, I think Saturday had 3, and I think Sunday had 5.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Saturday had 3 and 2 of them top 8'd, which is pretty impressive. Sometimes you just get either lucky or there's something that we're not privy to know how these people manage to top 8. Mulligan very well, I guess. But yeah, and then in 7th place was Familiars. I believe that was just I don't think it was anything too out of the ordinary. No Cryptomancers and a couple of meeting of mines, maybe 4.
Yeah, they had the meetings. They had 4 meetings.
Yeah.
And the 1 Sage's roll, I guess, to make the Mordor win easier.
Yeah.
In the main. Other than that, nothing that out of the ordinary.
No, definitely not. Yeah, and then 8th place was Luffy. He squeezed in with Affinity, I believe.
Yeah. Again, it's fairly stock Affinity deck. He had a 1 of Fangs in the main. And triple Nihil Spellbomb rather than Stars. Just interesting take. There was quite a bit of terror last week, but it seemed to drop off a bit this week. But yeah, it was like you say, a fairly stock top 8. All the big players, other than I guess Terra. There's no Terra there. A lot of fear.
Yeah.
A couple of bubbles. But yeah, FAMs again making top 8. The field was pretty dense for FAMs, like more than you would normally expect.
Yeah.
I think it was the most played deck.
Yeah,
or,
it was
tied for the most played deck. But not many of that representation got into the actual top 32. So again, it sort of plays on what we were saying last week. The deck's really hard to play, especially on Mordor. The good players obviously do well with it, but people just picking it up, it is hard to get there with.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what it seems like. I think it was like 20% of the field, which is pretty nuts for FAMs, and you can also see not many people top 80 with it. The win rate actually went down significantly. When you look at the win rate of FAMs over the challenges, it's usually quite high. It's very high in terms of win rate, but pilots are really low because obviously most pilots,
the same people playing each week.
Exactly. But this time the win rate was, I think it was sub 40%, which is low for FAMs, and obviously only one of them squeezed into the top 8.
Yeah.
And not many in the top 32.
And then following on for that, it was Burn. Burn was the next most played at, I think, 18%, and Mono Blue at 16%. Still far and above the rest of the field. I think the next, after those top FAMs on 20, Burn at 18 and Mono Blue at 16 was Affinity at around 8. So it's a lot lower than the rest. And FAMs for this challenge is probably not a good representation of the average. It probably would be a lot lower.
Yeah.
So yeah, Burn and Mono Blue dominating in representation, really.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of as we expect. Like, Mono Blue really thrives on a well-known metagame, I think. And I think I touched on this last week. Obviously, everything's low cost. Same with Affinity, same with Burn. All low cost, and it really does thrive on that kind of interactive gameplay that way. So I think Mono Blue being at the top is kind of a result of Burn and Affinity being good.
Yeah.
Which I think is fine. I'm okay with that. Like, don't get me wrong, I really get annoyed at losing to Spellstutter Sprite, as probably do most people. But it being a good representation is okay. It's just one of those things you have to prepare for going forward. I think Burn's always been at the top. They always will. Like, it's one of the best decks, if not the best deck. And Ren's Resolves definitely helped that. But
I think just how easy it is to get into and play on Magic Online as well. Like, a lot of people just be like, oh, well, I've got half an hour. I can play Magic Online with Burn because I can run a game in half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely a bonus to that deck. I think Mono Blue as well. It's obviously converting very well. But to me, it's a bit boring. Like, all the lists you see are almost identical copy-paste lists. Because there's that little room in it now with the Brian Barrows in. And even the sideboard is just copy-paste Hydroblast and Annulls.
Yeah.
As many as you can, and then maybe some relics if you want Graveyard Hate. But there's not much innovation there, which is a bit sad. But obviously, it's well-positioned. It's just converting.
Yeah.
Every week it's converting top 8, so...
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that one, to be fair. I do think there is some innovation. I say innovation in air quotes here. There is lists running, like Stompy's being tested, the new Cryptomancer in Mono Blue Fair, and there is, like, some people do still run Delver, some people run Spire Golem. There is some, but these lists don't transition well into challenges. So they are around. And these are cards, so say if you're in a league or if you're at a local game store or whatever, like, putting them into your, like, back of your mind that, you need to consider playing around Smoke Crowd or Cryptomancer or all, they're there, but ideally you could pretty much guess the 75 of especially in a challenge, I would say.
Yeah, and the other thing I've got here is the Mono Red list that won. Like we say, it's cold offer. It's gone on the very, like, Burn with card advantage sort of style. I think it was 3 Thermos, 4 Kessig, and then the 4 Swift Spear and just Burn and card advantage. It does seem to be the way it's going to go. It felt strong from I was testing the list, very similar. It feels very strong. It feels like there's some slots that aren't firmed up, like the Burn spells. The numbers aren't quite there. But apart from that, yeah, it seemed really good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the red list at the moment without the cold author is definitely probably where you want to go. I can definitely say that, and I think the only real change from last week's no cold author winning list was the lack of Epicures. Was I think one thing that he cut.
Yeah, it went even lower on creatures from was it 15, 16 down to 11. It's basically just the 4 Swift Spears and the 7 Pingers.
Yeah.
And up on Burn spells, 4 End of Festivities in the main. pretty big.
Again, I think it's another nod to mono blue being everywhere.
Yeah,
Definitely could see that.
And with the pingers, it's not the worst burn spell in a pinch.
Yeah, that is also fair. You know, you run Lava Dart, or you run Needle Drop to an extent in old school burns, so it's doing a pretty poor impression of that while also shoring up some other matchup that's can be quite bad.
Yeah, and I think then the other big thing after all that was that percentage of affinities seems very low for how good the deck is.
Yeah.
I don't know if people are just bored of playing it. But yeah, it just 8% is very low.
Yeah.
I think what have you got here? There was four people playing and all 4 top 32'd.
Yeah, so it's still doing very well in terms of how the deck is actually performing, but again, not a lot of people are playing it. It could be the board, could be they want to try new things. You know, it's definitely an odd one for just to all of a sudden drop off. But maybe it's because all these decks are not gonna they're still not losing all the hate for Affinity. You know, like Mono Blue.
Yeah, they're all still packing, aren't they?
Yeah, so maybe it's just like they don't want to fight through dust to dust for 6 or 7 rounds, or they don't want to fight through steel sabotages or all that sort of stuff. Maybe
which is interesting when you're seeing these numbers. 4 people playing Affinity, and all the Mono Blue lists are packing like 4 annulls plus steel sabotages. It's like, is this sort of over the top at this point? If the representation just isn't there, but you're still packing all this hate that's essentially for one deck. Obviously, the annulls are decent against Boggles.
Yeah.
But again, there's hardly anyone playing that as well. So I don't know at what point the Mono Blue deck start to take the sideboard hit out and the white deck start to take the sideboard hit out. Maybe it has a resurgence then, when it's less expected.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, but I still think that I would almost say that the Affinity pilots are all like regular Affinity pilots as well. I don't think
definitely.
Like, for example, Luffy, who top 80, basically almost solely plays Affinity, and that's understood that he's the pilot that top 80 out of the 4 and all that sort of stuff. So maybe they just think that is the best deck, which it could be still. You know, just obviously the representation is very low.
But yeah, fairly stock challenge, really. The like you said, the blue-black face sort of stands out of the top 8. But yeah, apart from that, looking down the top 32, we'll pull our decks out for our picks later on in the podcast. We were both struggling. Yeah, it was a lot of the usual suspects with the distinct absence of terror, especially in the top 8. Just didn't seem to convert very well. I think there was one in the top 15 or 2, but we can look at that later.
Yeah.
Going to move on to the Sunder Challenge, or have you got anything else to add?
No, I think I'm happy to generally move on. I do like the fact that I would just like to again reiterate blue-black fair being there is obviously quite good, and also its card choices are also something to note as well. Just generally.
Do you want to look at that list? Because I don't think either of us picked it, did we?
No, we didn't. I'm just looking for it now. It's here. So it also hasn't went for the full usual removal suite of like 4 snuff outs and 4 cast downs. It's got a lot of random one-offs, which is fine. It's almost stock, I would say, at this point to diversify its removal spells, but it's definitely. I wouldn't say this is a very normal list personally, because it seems to be
the one to Bower Flesh is quite an interesting one.
Yeah, and then it's running 4 Fairy Seers, 4 Spell Stutters, which are all fairly normal. It's running 4 Augurs, which are fairly normal, and it's got 2 Thorns and 2 Gurmag Anglers, which again I would say is fairly stock. So it's like creature removals, like it's creature package. Sorry, it's fairly stock, but again, it's just spells are very weird. Its sideboard's been out there for me as well. It's got like a lot of one-offs. It
starts to look a bit like it could be playing a Teachings or 2, but it just isn't.
Yeah.
Like there's a 1 in the name. There's 1 Echoing Decay, 1 Agony Warp, 1 Spell Pierce, 1 Devour Flesh, 1 Cast Down, 1 Fumes. You sort of think, was this did this have Teachings in at some point?
Yeah, it's
and then the same follows through for the sideboard, really, doesn't it?
I think the pilot here is definitely looking to just have a lot of catch-alls. So like obviously wants to have the Devour Flesh against Burn, for example, in case he needs to gain life, and also being against Bogles or something. Again with the Decay against Goblins or what have you. Just trying to make sure that he doesn't fall short. You know,
Yeah.
And it's definitely if you draw these cards at the right time, and that's all you need and all you can ask for. So, but yeah, just thought I'd bring attention to that list being so out there, especially with the sideboard. So many one-offs like Azurfleet, Admiral, Fangs, Moonblade, Shinobi, Fathom Seer, Ikobi Gang. There's definitely a lot of interesting one-offs that exclude.
Yeah, the one Fathom Seer is a cool inclusion.
Yeah, definitely. I think the deck's pretty sweet, and I'm happy Blue Black's kind of put up something, because it's definitely been the fair deck that's fell out of favour over recent history. But yeah, that is all I have about the Saturday's challenge.
Yeah.
So moving on to the Sunday challenge, which was definitely my kind of challenge. Everything was whack and wild, and I struggled to pick a deck. I really did. To just glance through the top 8, first was Burn, so we had a double Burn win. Second was Mono Blue Fair. And I believe the Burn deck, also going back, that was Kuldothalus as well. Almost the same list.
It was almost an identical list. There was 3 cards different between the main and side. Quite interestingly on that, the guy that won on the Saturday, top 32 at the Sunday, and the guy that won on the Sunday also top 32 at the Saturday. So with both with very similar lists to the ones that would win with. So it's definitely, there's something there.
Yeah, because I think it was Paulo Cabral won it, that won Saturday, who won the weekend before, and Bako won Sunday, I believe, or Bako. I'm not going to pronounce past that, but and they're definitely very strong pilots, as we've seen. They've featured in a lot of challenges, usually trophy leaders, so definitely something there if they're picking it up as well. But I'm moving on. We have the Red-Green Ponza coming third. Fairly stock list for Ponza. And I'm quite happy it's there, you know. I am happy Ponza's featured. I really, really am. Because I like fun policing people sometimes, as people may know. Fairly stock list. Nothing out the ordinary for that. FAMS came in 4th, and that was GN again.
Another top 8.
Another top 8. Yeah. This man just doesn't know how to stop. He's just an absolute on a tear with FAMS, that is for sure.
But again, it's a FAMS with someone who plays FAMS a lot, doing well. And just, showing the decks, the power's there if you're equipped to play it, basically. Yeah.
Definitely. And then we had a reoccurring deck that hasn't been here for a while, which is Jeskai Wildfire, or Jeskai Ephemera, if you want to call it that. The Archaeomancer Ephemerate loop control deck using Cleanse and Wildfire. It was a fairly stock list, nothing really out there, I don't think, but it was nice to see it coming back, even if I'm not a big fan of how the deck plays out myself. I don't like the play patterns. And then
it's very disheartening if you're playing against it.
that's definitely the way I'd like to put it. And speaking of decks that have rose from the dead, in 6th place as well, we had Kiln Fiend.
It's a very interesting one.
Yeah. I said this in my top 5 that I could see Kiln Fiend making a resurgence with the inclusion of Ren's Resolve, because of having a way to kind of get more threats a lot quicker. Obviously just churning through your deck with Reckless Impulse and Ren's Resolve is obviously a bonus, but this guy just full blown went down to 3. He
didn't care.
He was like, I don't need them, I'm going to draw my threats. No.
One interesting one was he had a one of G2 Amplifier, which is just like a 2-mana, another like a mini Kiln Fiend, gets +2/+4. I don't know if that's particularly better than the options that they had, but
it
seems pretty much the only change from just old school Kiln Fiend.
I think that's the one with the kicker cost, isn't it? The blue kicker cost.
Yeah, I guess you can kick it.
In a weird way.
Manamorphose.
Yeah. It's not nothing. It does exist, but so I do think it's definitely worse than obviously the Festival Crashes and the Kiln Fiends, but it's definitely if you need another threat, like definitely there. So I have no issues with Kiln Fiend being there. I just wish it ran 8 Reckless Impulses. Well, and then 7th we had Burn again, pretty stock, similar list I believe to first.
Yeah, similar, along the same vein. There's no cold offers, full sort of Burn 8 Impulse style. This one had a couple of curses in, and went up on the Thermos and down on the Flame Breathers, to play like a lot more old school Burn style with like lava spikes. But yeah, apart from that, it's again moving away from cold offer and just livering the Rends Resolve and the Reckless Impulse. No eggs, interestingly.
Very, very strange. But I do think going more traditional Burn could be potentially a way to go. I do think Flame Breather personally is probably the better option anyways over Thermal Alchemist. Especially if you're running stuff like Curse and the Pierce Heart, you do still get to trigger it and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it obviously just goes straight away, and with all the draw spells in, you can easily, to me, from a person that doesn't really play Cold Author or any sort of red deck, you can obviously late game, I just see the idea of, here's a Flame Breather, I've still got my 4 lands, cast 4 spells. You know what I mean? I'm not missing out on damage.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see going up to Flame Breathers consistently always being the 4 of. I've never really been a fan of Thermo, but I guess I lose to it too much to like it.
Yeah, I guess it's the benefit of the Thermo is if you're drawn dead, it still gets damage in every turn.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Flame Breather can attack, but obviously you can be on a board state where that's not viable. So I sort of see the reasoning. If you cut an egg, so you've got slightly less card advantage, it could come up that you're in a slot where it doesn't pay off and you have a dead draw. Whereas in the deck it's really only just the 2 curses that don't actually trigger both fingers anywhere. So I can see the reasoning behind it. Yeah, it's just another way to go. This is it skewed even more towards traditional Burn, so interesting to see where it ends up.
No, definitely. And then in 8th place was a second copy of Ponza, which is pretty good going. The deck's been on the cusp of like doing a lot of top 8s consistently, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it just kind of finally got over the edge. It does suffer from itself a lot. It obviously has to run hot. Has to obviously get the right matchups. There is some hands where you just lose because they played a bridge. Don't get me wrong, it does happen. But generally the raw power level of the threats are just there, and sometimes that just carries.
Yeah.
Cascade is a strong mechanic.
A bit more of a out of the norm top 8, I guess. There's the 2 mono blue, the 2 Burn and the 1 mono blue, and the 1 Fams, but then no Affinity, no Terror. The double Ponza, Wildfire Kiln Fiend is definitely an interesting addition of 4.
Yeah, no, definitely. And they're all decks that I'm all for being viable in this sort of format. And I do think that is the good thing, even though there is a lot of people that don't traditionally like the way the Pauper metagame is. Obviously, with red being absolutely everywhere, the player patterns of Affinity and stuff, there is some sort of room for tier 2 off the wall decks, I'll say, to rotate around. And it does, and I think that's fine. I'm happy with that, and I'm okay with dying to Swifty every so often and flipping the keyboard. That happens. Definitely.
Yeah, and then looking at the percentages for Sunday, then so the fams took absolute beating and went from the 20% on the Saturday that we're surprised at back down to 6%, which I still think's quite high for that deck. But obviously a lot more in line as with what you would expect than the 20%. Mono red and mono blue still just leading 18% of the meta each. And Affinity just staying consistent. Third most popular deck still at 8%. Still well below mono red and mono blue. Yeah.
I think mono red and mono blue will kind of, I would guess, kind of go up and down together. The more mono red, the more mono blue. The less mono red, the less mono blue. But until people try and figure out how to fight what mono red will look like, I think you're just going to consistently see a lot of mono red and a lot of mono blue, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem that way. Again, the rest of the field just well below that. Affinity still 8%, probably underplayed for how powerful it is. But yeah, when you're fighting mono blue that's packing 6+ annuls and mono red that's got shamans and smash and blows and smash the dusts and stuff in, it's gonna look a bit daunting to play Affinity, I guess.
Yeah, that is definitely for sure.
Have you got any other comments on the Sunday top 8?
I think no, not really. I think Kiln Fiend, I'm happy is there. I'm happy that he's there, and hopefully people start playing it because it can definitely cheese out wins even against like red decks. Yeah. Depending on how red decks sort of develop, depends on, I think, also how good it might be. Like if they go more lava spikes and all that sort of stuff, then it might get a little bit better for Kiln Fiend. But if they go to more Serum Blazes and things like generally good cards, if that makes sense, then Kiln Fiend might have a harder time. But
I think one bonus from it might be the lack of cold offers that are being played. Obviously, you can just get in more with the Kiln Fiend. You don't have to give it trample while protection to get in.
Yeah.
You can just like hit for 7 and then hit them again later for the rest. That might pay off quite well. Yeah.
And I do think there's a lot of benefits from other decks that isn't just the top 8, like Kiln Fiend and stuff, that do benefit from lack of cold offer, which we'll probably get into further down when we discuss our deck highlights, I guess. But yeah. I'm definitely am happy that top 8. It shows a healthy metagame, even if when you are playing on Magic Online, sometimes it doesn't feel like that. So I'm definitely happy that it shows that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
do you want to go into your deck choice for Saturday?
Yeah, I'm fine with that for sure. The first deck is the 15th place. It's like an Esper Gates. It is by the pilot Batutina, I'm going to say. Let's go with that.
I'll leave that one to you.
I will apologise if I mispronounced the name there, but I am fairly interested in this list because I do like a good Gates deck. Is this the Gates deck? Oh yeah, it is. It isn't even Esper. It does also Splash Grip. I didn't even notice the Gate Creeper Vine, but it is kind of like, I guess we'll say 4-colour Gates as opposed to Esper Gates. It's just more the removal suite, and that's kind of like different. As we noticed from last week, the green-white shell is kind of there, and it's fairly solid, and it's basically just the removal that you're changing, or some sort of tech choice to the reason to play it. And the main thing I did like about this list is it ran 4 Deadly Disputes. Card's just good. It always will be, always has been. That sort of that card has pretty much dominated Pauper once everyone realised how good it was. Took a couple of months, and there's a lot of different ideas that I do like about this. Like Kirby, he ran Black-White Ephemerate with like Goliath Paladins and the Pegasus and stuff, and ran Deadly Dispute in that. And even though you don't really have many dedicated sacrifice outlets like Ichor Wellspring or Chromatic Start, the card's just good. It just hits cards that are doing nothing. You have a card that's sitting there like a Gate Creeper Vine or a Thraben Inspector that's just being outclassed, or a Sacred Cat that's just not doing much. Just sack it away, get a treasure, draw 2 cards. Fairly solid. No real messing around. The deck's pretty interesting overall, and it's, as I say, I did struggle personally for this challenge because it's very much mono blue, mono red, etc. But this deck's pretty sweet, and I do like what it's trying to do, and I like the removal. The 3 Journeys, 2 Cast Downs, the 1 Suffocating Fumes. Good solid choices, no real issues with anything, and nothing stands out either, apart from the full 4 Guardians is still getting more stock, I guess, so it's not really out the ordinary nowadays. You've got a lot of gate lists that go one way, either full 4 on Guardian of the Guild Pact, or they go the other way and go 0 in the main and 1 in the side.
Yeah. He's definitely come prepared, obviously, for the sheer amount of mono blue we're seeing as well, with the 7 blasts in the side.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
the sacred cat Dawnbringer Basilisk Gate's good enough against mono red, so doesn't need much for them. But yeah, a lot of mono blue here.
Yeah, I think packing for the main being red with the sacred cats, the gatekeepers, the Dawnbringers, and technically the Suffocating Fumes, if they are running Cold Author, are all solid, and you only need a couple of card choices after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, fairly happy with this list in terms of gates. I really do like how the gate shell's kind of evolving, and I really like the green-white core. It's definitely very strong, and I think it'll actually prove to be some sort of, I wouldn't say like a metagame menace or anything, but it's definitely just gonna exist in like the metagame, which I'm definitely happy to be there, because it's a lot of a different gameplay than what you used to with mono blue and mono red and Affinity. But yeah, that's all I've really got to say about that deck. I don't know if you've got anything else to add about it.
No, not really. It's obviously from a challenge that there isn't a huge amount of out of the norm decks. I guess it was a pretty interesting one. It's not as wild as some of the gate lists we talked about last week, but it seems solid. Obviously, yeah, it does seem like it's got some of the more common matchups sewn up. And then obviously lanes its sideboard on what it needs to be.
Definitely. So, and what was the deck you chose?
So mine was a Monstertron list, which came 18th, and that was Sandpop's list. I quite like this sort of take on Tron. It seems a bit sort of more old school, like old school Tron. With just a bunch of massive guys and then just casting them off your Tron lands. The 4 breath weapon in the main I thought was a nice addition, obviously hitting out that mono blue. But yeah, it seemed a cool list. Couple of Fengra Marauders in the main, with the other 2 in the side, just if you need more life gain against the mono red matchup. And then some sideboard relics for any error shenanigans.
Yeah, it's a fairly solid list, and I do like these Tron decks. As I say, these old school kind of Tron decks, very wholesome. They want to do something, and it's just like a simple, honest life. They just want to get the Tron lands and cast some dumb dudes and hope that they kill the opponent. But yeah, it's a fairly solid list. I think I watched a video on Weber's video on YouTube on it, and it looks so fun. And this needs to be on my list to play. This deck just looks. I'm all for just killing people with Ulamog Swishers. Definitely, I'm all for it. I do like the addition of like I guess new, but not that new, is the Boulder Branch Golem, the prototype green guy that gains a bunch of life.
Yeah, it's a nice one, especially costing 7 on the big side. Just ideal, really. 7 mana, 6/5, gain 6, especially in a burn heavy meta.
Yeah.
Turn 3 that it's just a really solid play. Gain the life you've lost back in the first couple of turns. Yeah,
I don't think there's anything else I really want to say apart from I definitely like this. I definitely like this deck. This needs to be added to the list. Are we okay to move on?
Get a recording going with it.
I know, definitely. Are you okay to move on, or would you like? Yeah. So moving on to the Sunday challenge. The deck I chose was the 15th place. Again, is that 2 15th place lists?
Yeah, I noticed this when I was putting the notes in.
Is from Brassator. It's a lot easier to say, I think. And this is like a blue-red terror. And the reason I picked this deck was when Tolarian Terror got spoiled in Dominaria United. Is that what it was? This was
yeah, Dominaria something.
This is kind of like the deck that I initially put together when brewing this. Like, not this exact list. Obviously, I'm not that good by any stretch of the means. But this sort of list where it wasn't really like Turbo Terror as most blue-black lists are now. It was just like an honest control deck. You know, casting kill spells, draw spells that eventually just played some terrors out. And this list is basically 4 Ogres, 4 Commodore, 4 Terror as the creature package, which is fairly, like, yeah, I'm down for these. Monarch's probably carrying it, to be fair, because...
Yeah, the 4 Commodores seems like a very thought-about inclusion.
Yeah. I could probably, personally, looking at it, I think it probably wants the other one, the blue one, in my head, because I feel like if you, as your fleet Commodore, is it? Because I just feel like losing the Monarch in this deck will be brutal. Yeah. And the fact that one's just really good at taking the Monarch back is ideal.
Yeah. It doesn't look like if someone takes it, you're going to have much cost to take it back. Yeah. You're essentially 4 Ogres that trying to get in. It's not going to get it back very easily.
But I do also like the spell choices as well. So, like Turbo Terror or Dimir Terror or whatever you want to call it, it runs a lot of like lower end counter spells, like a lot of Dispel, Spell Pierces, with also the inclusion of counter spell. And I feel like being more controlling and going a lot more top heavy and slower just utilises the counter spells that it's chose, which is 4 counter spell and 4 lose focus. And it's kind of just went away from the spell piece and stuff, because it you can see by the deck it's trying to go longer. And
yeah, obviously there's no thought scours or mental notes, so it's going to cast the terror eventually.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like trying to rush it out. So it is obviously a more control and style deck.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's a cool take.
Definitely. And I like also the no messing. Everything is basically everything is a 4 of. Like, yeah. It's like, I am solely just, this is my deck, and I've got no flex slots in it. That's all I'm doing. And I just like it. Pretty solid take.
Yeah, it's definitely a clean one. Obviously, when Skred's good, it's gonna work out well. Same with Fire and Ice with the amount of mono blue. Fire and Ice is going to be really good at the moment, so 4 of them seem like a great inclusion. Not much out of the way in the sideboard. 4 blasts for blue, 4 blasts for red. Some relics. I guess the relic's an interesting one given you're playing Terry yourself, so if you have to pop it, it's sort of a net negative. Something like I guess Spellbomb doesn't really work, but there's probably an alternate choice to relic that might work better.
Yeah, I think there's like Tormod's Crypt is legal, I guess.
Yeah,
but again, not
I can't remember if it's like is there like Phyrexian Furnace? Is that a common? It's like a relic style card that you can like chip away at them, and then you can pop it to exile 1 card.
Oh,
draw
right,
a card, I think. I'm not sure if that's a common or not, so I might be speaking shit. And then a couple of curfews, a couple of fiery cannonades for mono blue.
Yeah.
Well, primarily mono blue obviously comes in other matchups, but yeah, it seems interesting. It's a cool pick.
Yeah, definitely like that deck. And what was your deck?
So my pick was the 3rd place Ponza deck, by Shatun. I'm going to say that's pronounced. He actually got 13th on the Saturday as well.
Alright, okay.
So really like pushing the Ponza. Like you say, it's a fun deck to play, and it's a cool one to see. Obviously, probably tier 2, but on the fringes of being really competitive, getting really good results. Similarly to that blue red deck, it's a very 4 of heavy list. The only non-4 ofs are 2 wild growths and 3 Skreds. Utilising the Skred with the snow-covered lands again. But yeah, Arbor Elf, Utopia Sprawl, or Wild Growth. It seems like there is space for a deck that pulls that together to do well. yeah, it seems really good. And there was also a Lord Egg topic which we touched on before. So yeah, the Ponza is there. Is a real deck. No matter how casual it may look.
I feel like the only difference to their lists as well was their sideboards, right?
Yeah, off the top of my head, they seemed very similar. And I'll just open it up. Yeah, the main decks are exactly the same. Yeah, 4 Arbor Elf, 4 Utopia Sprawl, 2 Wild Growth, for your turbo mana, then your Dual Fiefs and Elvish Visionaries on 3, Avenging Hunters, Boredom Pies, and Allosaurs as your bombs, and then Acid Mosses and Thermal Casts for your land destruction.
Yeah.
And then the only real difference in the sideboard was there a difference in the sideboard?
I think...
two Penumbra Spiders instead of 2 Smash to Dusts.
There's one, and I think one...
And 3 Electricaries instead of 3 Cannonades, yeah. But essentially fulfilling the same role, really.
Yeah.
That mono blue Fair Hate, and then the Smash to Dust and the Penumbra Spiders. Obviously, Penumbra's more blocking / eating mono blue, where the Smash to Dust sort of side load to Affinity Walls head, as well as a 1 damage mono blue head.
Don't forget that secret head to kill Thermal Alchemist as well. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. that's not a bad shout. I never even thought about that.
But yeah, I do like Ponza, and I like, as I say, the Arbor of Utopia Sprawl lists, and I also think that this sort of list might shine probably the most with the change of the way Mono Red's going. So without Rebirth, Avenging Hunter gets a lot better.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder for them to take the initiative, and it being a green deck means you get access to 4 Weather the Storms, which was a lot. Weather the Storms a lot worse against Kuldotha than it was against like a burn deck. So
yeah, just them having the recurring damage on board rather than 3 cards. Yeah, definitely makes it a lot worse. But yeah, I can definitely see that. We'll have to see next week if it continues to put up some decent results.
Yeah, because I definitely do think it is very well positioned, and I am all for Ponza being a tier 2 deck.
So I think next we've got a recap on what we said last week that we would think to happen this week. So the first thing was Mono Red continues to develop itself. Definitely seems to be the case. The two wins, both non-Kuldotha decks. Like 2 months ago, you wouldn't have thought that would be the case. Not at all, I don't think. But yeah, now it does seem like that's the way it's gonna go, at least in the short term. So I think that was a pretty reasonable call.
Yeah, definitely.
Our second point was that we'll get repeat showings from Affinity, Terra, Gates, and Mono Blue. Mono Blue obviously seemed to overperform. It's the first or second most played deck both times, and he's hitting top 8s.
Yeah.
Affinity still a mainstay, still the 3rd most played deck, or the 4th most played deck when FAMS was higher on Saturday. But definitely down from where it normally is. Definitely doesn't seem as dominant anymore. Terra, I was slightly surprised like how low the Terra was. I think the closest was 10th on Saturday and a 14th on Sunday, I believe. Which, like, they're not bad results, but for a deck as powerful as Terra is, I sort of expected more.
Yeah,
I don't know what your thought is on that.
I think with Terra, it's its own worst enemy, is like how it generally plays out. Sometimes you just don't get there, you end up milling half your threats, or you know what I mean, you kind of whiff a lot. And obviously that doesn't happen throughout the whole event or the whole challenge or whatever, but there is times when it just isn't running as hot, or you make like a lot of choices, I find, with Terra as well. So like, do I want to be so aggressive and just try and jam out some Terras and hope that works, or do I want to take it slower because I have this counter spell in hand, all that sort of stuff. And sometimes just those lines just don't work out. I find it's a deck that is very linear, and sometimes people are prepared for one line and you go down that line and you know what I mean, that sort of thing. And I think that's probably what it is. A powerful deck, don't get me wrong, we can jam 3/5/5s as early as turn 3 or 4, but it generally is its own worst enemy.
Yeah.
So I'm not too...
And then the fourth part of that, Gates, sort of in a similar position to Terra with no top 8s. The closest was a 12th on Saturday and a 9th on Sunday. But I feel that's sort of more in line of what we expected from Gates. We weren't sort of expecting, there'll be 2 copies of Gates in the top 8 or whatever. We were sort of, it's still going to do well, probably sort of between 9th and 20th.
Yeah. With the occasional squeeze of top 8 here and there, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Can I just make a note to add, have you seen the 9th place Gates list on Sunday? It runs, it's a core gate, like 3 or 4 colour deck, and it runs 4 Legion Conquistadors. Is that what it's called? The
Conquistador.
That one.
Legion Conquistador.
That
like
one.
A 3-mana squadron hawk.
Yeah.
It's a 2/2. Yeah. That's definitely a cool inclusion.
Yeah, it was definitely on my list of decks to consider just because it was more like a Jeskai gate with also that Legion card. I'm not going to say that second thing again. I'm definitely terrible with it.
Legion Conquistador, yeah. It's basically like it's got 8 Squadron Hawks and 4 Cats. And
yeah.
That's its threat. That's what it's running.
I guess it's got 4 Modern Age as well.
Yeah. It's definitely a cool way to take it. I don't know how good Conquistador is, but I guess it's a white guy, essentially recursive white guy, because you just keep getting more. So it casts your strands as well from the graveyard.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely.
It makes your brainstorms good.
Yeah, I was just surprised. I was like, what? I had to Google what that card was because I seen it in a list. I was like, what is that card? So yeah, but I think we were definitely on point with those points, and also the last point, I guess, which is FAMs will do well if people are brave enough to play it. Which I think that's a fair standard point moving forward. If you're going to play it and you are experienced in playing it, like GN and these Jacob who top 8'd, they've got experienced pilots and they know what they're playing and they know how to play it and they know how to tackle each matchup, etc. And I think that's going to be the same throughout.
Yeah.
These strong pilots will just keep playing.
Definitely. Yeah, I think, like we've seen, the drop from Saturday to Sunday, the numbers will probably be down because there just isn't that volume of people playing challenges that are that experienced with fans to run it well. But yeah, the people that they're just going to continue doing well.
Definitely agree.
And then so leading on from that, our expectations of how it will shake out from now to next week. This is going to be interesting because I don't know what you've put because I can't see your notes. But mine,
I haven't put anything.
Boggles uptick. Obviously, we've seen like back-to-back weeks now where Boggles is doing well and there's no one playing it. It's like 3 people playing it, 4 people playing it, 5 people playing it. I think what will happen is probably similar to FAMs, where it'll see a huge uptick. Obviously, Boggles is a lot easier to just get free wins with. So I imagine a lot more of that increased player base will convert it into top 32s, top 8s. I think that's my first expectation.
My first expectation is I think Ponza will take an uptick.
Yeah.
I think with the state of the burn decks have been the red decks have been more burn based. As I touched on before, I think Avenging Hunter gets incredibly much more powerful than it already is. Weather the Storm is obviously a much more hurtful sideboard card for them, and I just think the deck in terms of like kind of Boggles, it gets a lot of free wins sometimes, just blown up lands, not necessarily against red, but just against the general field. I feel like that's. And it's probably got a reasonable mono blue matchup too. Its spells are expensive, it's got cascades, so it's harder for them to counter everything. So
I think especially on the play, if you can get that Arbor Elf Utopia Sprawl down through the counters, you're pretty well set up.
Yeah.
Obviously the Utopia Sprawl they can't really answer once it's down. The Arbor Elf they can snap it, but it's sort of wasted in snap.
definitely.
But yeah, I can see that, especially probably in a similar situation to Bogles, where there's not been that many people playing it for a long time, but it's still converting decent results, and especially after the Sunday double top 8, there's going to be a lot of people interested.
Yeah.
In giving it a go.
Yeah, definitely.
My second one is something we've touched on probably too much now over this podcast. Is the Burn's just going to continue to drop Kuldorfer. I think that time, at least for now, is past. I'm not saying it won't come back in the future, but I think for now, the more Burn style, less creature heavy lists are just the way I go.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Just Ren's Resolve or 8 Reckless Impulses just makes it so much easier to have a critical mass. And with traditional old school Burn, you often struggle to get that 20 damage quite easily, and every card you mulliganed and stuff like that was just like a turn or two potentially further away from killing your opponent, and I just don't think that's the case anymore.
No, you just don't have that fear of whiffing anymore. Like you've got the card advantage to compete.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that Egg is a mainstay. I can see it not being. Like we see in that 7th place list, I think it was, obviously didn't run any. So there's definitely still developing to be done. But yeah, the more Burn, less Kuldorfer Goblin style is probably out the window, at least for now.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. My final thought is I think the gate decks will probably be more black based. It's a weird thing. Don't know why. Just I think the green white decks will be like the green white gate based decks will be more green white black, and I think the blue white decks, like Corgate, will be more the splash and black as opposed to red. And the reason is I think Corgate in particular got a lot of push from running Smash to Dust and Pyroblast and stuff from the side, which obviously I think Pyroblast could still be ran in those lists because splashing for a one pip card is not out the question, but being able to run Smash to Dust for Kuldorfer is probably not ideal, when I think it's probably better to run Fumes because of Fear being so big. And Fumes is just so much better against Smash to Dust if you're going to be expecting Fear, in my opinion anyways.
I think it sort of ties in as well to what we're saying with if we expect an uptick from Bogles and Ponza, the black answers to those decks are miles better than most of the colours, like with Chainer's Edicts, Cast Downs, Fumes. They're a lot more efficient and a lot more useful against other decks as well as those decks.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, it seems a reasonable call. And my final one is something that probably won't happen, but I hope it happens. is a downtrend in Mono Blue, because it's just so boring. they're just the lists. They're just so copy paste. And I really loved Mono Blue back when it was playing Gush and Days and like random one of Bone Splitters and stuff like that. But the sheer copy paste, especially if it's creature based now, it just
not for
I find it very, very boring. But I can't see that happening. It's just more of a hope.
It's also a card that I probably hate losing to the most is Spellstutter Sprite. Spellstutter Sprite ninjas are just the most tilting game losses ever. And I think that's probably why it's so high. Just people know that someone's punched the computer screen at the end of a challenge. But I think that's definitely a fine expectation to have, and all of those are fine, apart from the Mono Blue one, I think. But overall, I think the expectations are fairly not self-explanatory, but definitely good takes based on the trends that we've seen over the past 2 challenges. So it'll be interesting to see.
We'll see next week if we'll come back to them and see how close we were to hitting it.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you have any final closing comments?
No, I think that's me really. It's obviously 2 very different challenges. One's fairly stock, one's a bit out there. So it's pretty interesting show, and hopefully next week that continues. Yeah,
I definitely hope so too. And I think that's all for us, guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is episode 2 of Casting Commons. And we will be back next week with the exact same stuff, but hopefully much more interesting challenges than the Saturday. So, guys, do not forget to like and subscribe and hit that follow button if you're on Spotify or all the other podcasting aids. And I will see you guys next time.
Bye.